Hello, everyone. I am Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, and I am excited to be sitting down with Justin Baldoni, the director and producer of the film Clouds, streaming on Disney Plus, telling the real life story of Zach Sobiech. And Justin, you started. You're known as an actor as well. You were featured on Jane the Virgin, so some people know you that way. And I'm curious what actually made you take on directing? What led to this sort of second career here?
Well, to be honest, it was actually a first career. At a young age, I dreamed of telling stories in whatever way I could. I would turn in movies instead of book reports in high school and make music videos for the girls that I liked. So that was always my preferred method of storytelling. And of course, you get to Hollywood, and Hollywood tells you what you are in some ways before we get to take that power back and tell Hollywood what we are. And so I kind of fell into acting early on, but I never had the confidence to be an actor growing up. I was a bit of an ugly duckling. And so I think that was how I expressed myself. And movies were my therapy. They were my medicine. They were my friends. So when I fell into acting, I was, early on in my 20s, I was moonlighting as a director. So I was directing music videos and commercials to pay the bills, because as a struggling actor, you get a job here and there. Guest stars can't survive off guest stars. So I was actually I was making more money making music videos and just directing for a lot of my 20s. And but 26, I actually quit acting completely, because I felt like I wasn't truly being of service. And I came to this town to be of service. I didn't come here to become famous, to, become the next Spielberg or whatever. I came here to find a way to take what was in my heart, which really I believe comes through me, and then give that to someone else, to create an experience for somebody else via storytelling. And I just wasn't able to do that as an actor. I wasn't in control. I wasn't able to choose the roles I wanted. It was feast or famine. And I decided I'd rather be on the famine side of things and be content and happy at the end of my life with what I chose to do. So I quit acting and I started directing documentaries, small, short documentaries. And I started with a documentary series called My Last Days, which aired on the Soul Pancake YouTube channel when they first started 8 years ago. And I made $4,000 per episode documentaries. And it was through that experience that I met the amazing Zach Sobiech and Claire Wineland, who inspired me to make 5 Feet Apart, which was my first film. And the whole purpose of that show was to tell the stories of amazing individuals who are living with a chronic or terminal illness and choosing hope and love and joy in the face of that tremendous adversity. Because I thought that we could all use a little reminder that we get one life and we have to make a conscious choice to love and to be present and to enjoy it. So yeah, that led me. That led me back into acting, and then eventually I used acting to really build that to make movies.
I'm glad you mentioned Zach on that documentary series, because I was wondering, did you know back then that you wanted to make a larger story about his life?
I yes and no. Everything about, from the way I found Zach originally, to the process of telling the story, to how it was received in the world, was so magical and so divinely inspired. And I remember having conversations with Zach before he died, and making him a promise that I would do whatever was in my power to keep his story alive, to keep him alive, to raise money for his fund, the osteosarcoma fund. And I didn't know. I think early on it was, is there a feature length documentary about Zach? Is there, and his mom Laura and I had talked about a few things. But it wasn't until about a year after he passed that I reached out to Laura and said, "Hey, I think there's something bigger here. I think we should talk about making a movie." And that was 6 years ago.
I don't think it's very, common for someone to be making a story, a real life based story, who is also so close to that subjects that they're making the
Yeah.
story about. So I'm wondering how that personal connection to Zach influenced your direction of the film.
Well, I understand why people don't do it, because when you're telling a story, when you're making a narrative theatrical motion picture that has all of the pressures, right? The commercial, the commerce pressures that tend to override the art and the passion. It's very hard, because it's hard to be objective when you have such a deep love and a connection to the story. But at the same time, it was my love for Zach, and it was my promise to Zach that I think allowed me to take the risks I took and make the movie I wanted to make. Because it was never about money. It was never about it was never about pleasing a studio. It was about how do I tell the story of this young man I loved, who changed my life, and do it sincerely and authentically, and honor him and his family, and have the most impact possible. And for me, impact is not about how many people watch something. It's about that one-on-one connection with a heart, with how many hearts are we touching, and how many hearts are then we inspiring to take action in the world. And the thing was, Zach inspired people to take action. Zach inspired people to live better. And if we did it right, then the movie would do the same. And so it was hard, because look, I have more gray hairs than I did before I made this movie. It was hard because I wanted his family to be intimately involved. A lot of filmmakers, they get the rights to a story, and then it's like, okay, you stay over there, I'll be over here, and then I'll show you the movie when it's done. Or you can consult on it. We call it meaningful consultation. But really, it's my story now. So that was not this. It was my love for him, I think, that allowed it to be as detailed as it was. From asking his mom and dad, Laura and Rob, to ship me his entire room. I used everything that was in Zach's room in the movie. Those were Zach's real personal belongings. Can't go recreate that stuff. It's got his energy on it. He touched it. He held it. It meant something to him. And that energy translates into the actor's body, which translates to you when you watch it, Sam. And you can't fake that. Finn in the movie wore Zach's real clothing. They were the same height and the same size. And so the family had kept all Zach's clothing. And I remember, and I made the documentary, about his life. And I remember him wearing these clothes. And so I said to Laura and Rob, I was like, I would love Finn to wear the clothes. I think instead of going and trying to match it, let's use it. Let's use the energy that's still on those clothing, and let's let Finn become Zach. And they agreed. And so, you have these amazing moments in the movie where, when Zach's recording Clouds, the song, he wore the same red flannel shirt that he wore when he recorded Clouds in real life. And the audience might not recognize it, but they'll feel it. And it was, and that comes from a place of love. And I don't think I would have made that same choice had I not known Zach and the family as intimately as I did. Even down to Laura and Rob and Sammy and Amy, the real people helping me cast the movie. I wanted their opinion. I wanted to know who captured the essence. And sometimes I was too close to it and I needed to step back. And my style as a director is I'm a collaborator. So I want other people's opinions, and then I need to trust my own. So it was really hard. I wanted to make them proud. I wanted to make Zach proud, but I think it was that love that made it unique. And it was a pressure that I gladly bore. And I think it worked out beautifully. I couldn't be more proud of the movie.
I would imagine being that close to it, like you say, makes it really hard to cast someone in that sense,
Yeah.
to find the right person. Especially Finn Argus does a fantastic job, but you had to find an actor who can also sing, and who fits your vision of your experience of Zach. So what was it that he did to sort of sell you that he could take this on?
It was funny. Finn didn't do anything to sell me. what ended up selling me in the end was when Finn did the least. So when Finn first came in to audition, he's a new actor. I mean, this is his first lead role in a movie. You'd never know watching this film because he's so damn comfortable. But we had Finn audition, I think 4 or 5 times. And every time he came in, we asked him to do something a little bit different because there was a lot of parts of Zach. And I wanted to see all of the different parts, the goofy side, the sensitive side, the funny side, the emotional side. And he had all of them. And in the first couple auditions, I think when you're auditioning and it's, on tape, you don't always get that chance to show all of those things. And we had him come back again because there was such a visual similarity to him and Zach. By the way, my family's just walking in right now, so I apologize. Actually, I might actually have to go outside. Hi, guys. Oh, they're beautiful. Oh, that's so sweet. Daddy's doing an interview, so I'll be right back. Right, this is the life now. But there was such a beautiful physical similarity between him and Zach, and especially pre-cancer. Zach had curly hair, and was so good looking, just like Finn. And so obviously the singing was a big part of it because I really wanted to find someone who could sing because I really wanted to record all of the music live. It was really important for me that the music be recorded live and not pre-recorded and lip sung. Like this movie, I wanted it to feel like you were there with these kids. And for me, everything about this film was sincere and authentic, and imperfections were the perfections of the movie. So he had all of it, but what he had more than anything was a sweet sensitivity that Zach had. You felt like he was your best friend. You wanted him to win. And it's really hard to find an actor who's so comfortable with this just like sweetness. It's like a sweetness and this vulnerability, this disarming goofiness that's so hard to find. And Finn had all of it, plus the singing voice. And it just became, once we realized it was Finn, it was just so clear that nobody else could ever play this role.
Yeah. Well, on the surface, it seems like such a heavy topic to cover in a movie. It's a teenager dealing with a terminal cancer diagnosis, and yet it doesn't feel extremely heavy when you watch it. It's an incredibly hopeful experience in a way. And so I'm wondering how you navigated that tone.
Well, it was that the movie was hopeful. I mean, Zach was hopeful, and that was important to us. I always believe that these films, the reason why these films oftentimes don't work is because they play the end in the beginning. And for us, the ending, I tried to reverse engineer this movie and ask myself, well, why are we making it? Well, we're making it to give you hope. We're making the movie to give you hope. So therefore it's a hopeful movie. This is not a cancer movie. It's not a sick kid movie. This is a story about an underdog who wins, right? And winning looks different for everybody. It's much more of a sports movie than anything else in terms of, the arc of the film. And when we were writing this film, we decided, no, this is a sports movie. And that final performance that's the game. We're building to that moment. And everything that happens and gets us there is part of that hero's journey with that payoff. But an audience member, like when you first look at the movie, you think, oh my God, he dies at the end. It's going to be a depressing movie. No, it's not. It's a hopeful movie because all of us are going to die. And the thing about Zach is Zach taught us how to live, and he taught us how to die. And it's something that every single person on the planet can recognize and remember and see themselves. And Zach is all of us. Laura, his mom, is all of us. Sammy, the best friend, is all of us. And that's what I think makes this story so beautiful and so hopeful, is that despite having no chance at winning the game, Zach showed up. And in showing up and being present, he won. Winning doesn't mean living, because eventually we're going to die. Winning is how you choose to live and how you inspire others to choose to live. And he did that. He did that in spades, and we saw it happen. We saw it happen with our audience as they watched the movie. We saw it happen when I just made the documentary about his life in my last days. There are people that are still alive because they watched this movie, because they watched Zach. And that's winning. That's why, you know, we're having these awards conversations. And we're talking about Emmys and all of this stuff. And it's probably like the thing I shouldn't say. But the truth is that it's not, there's no award that could ever make us feel, that could ever make us feel like we did it, because we already did it. Because Zach did it, right? It was the response from the audience. It was seeing what happened on TikTok. These 16, 17-year-old kids, 20-year-olds doing the Clouds Challenge, watching this movie and crying and sobbing and calling their friends and their moms. It was people that had terminal illnesses and chronic illnesses seeing themselves. So Sam, it was the story you had with Josh. This is why we made the film. That is the award. That's what matters. We often say in our business, like, oh, we're not curing cancer. Like, don't make it such a big deal. We're not curing cancer. And from the beginning, I said, well, why not? Why aren't we trying to cure cancer? We just found out we got a $200,000 donation last week from somebody who watched the movie that went directly to Zach's fund to end and find a cure for osteosarcoma. We should be making movies. We should be making TV shows in this business that change the world. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing? And so it's a long way to say, like, this was such a unique and beautiful experience. And I'm just so grateful that we had.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it could be put any better than that. And so I'm glad to be talking to you. And I think it's an incredible tribute to Zach. And you certainly won. So thank you for sitting down with me. Everyone who's out there watching, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby. Keep up to date with us throughout the season. And Justin, thank you once again. It was a pleasure.
And go check out Zach's fund, zacksmovement.org. And if you get inspired by the movie, maybe make a donation to his fund. And hopefully we don't have to lose any more people to osteosarcoma and cancer.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Much love, Sam.